Every big win starts long before game day. On any given Monday, we go where cameras don't. Behind the contracts, the calls, and the chaos. We'll road trip with scouts, visit iconic campuses, step inside replay booths, and walk up to the luxury suites. Real organizations, real stories, real decisions. Lace up your cleats, buckle your chin strap. Here comes our GM, Matthew Mayle.
My guest today on any given Monday is University of Toledo head women's basketball coach, Ginny Boggess. Coach Boggess started for 4 years at Wingate with career averages of 10 points and 5 assists. And I like that, a scoring threat that's able to distribute the ball a little bit. She was also academic All-American all 4 years. Coach Boggess was previously at the helm at Monmouth University, where she inherited just a 2-win team who she later took to the NCAA tournament 2 years later. Last year, the Toledo Rockets team went 24-9 in Coach's first year. Coach is now getting ready to tip her second season with the Rockets and is a fan favorite in the Glass City. Coach, Toledo women's basketball is known for passionate crowds that pack Savage Arena. And I've heard you say that your wife told you before you took the job that 5,000 people in the seats means 5,000 opinions.
Sure.
What was it like in year one to put your own mark on the program, win 20 games in the season, and reach the MAC championship?
Well, first of all, I think it's so important to have people in your life that bring to perspective the reality of the situation that you're about to walk into, right? I am my good friend Brandy from back home from high school, Brady Linville, now Brady Sanders. She always said that delusional optimism carried me. That I've just really been an optimistic person my whole life. So I was like, 5,000 fans, like this is gonna be great. And Kristen was like, there's some inherent pressure to this situation. And so I think that was a good level set for me walking in. The thing that I quickly learned was that there really aren't 5,000 opinions. There are 5,000 supporters. And I think what makes University of Toledo so special is the passion that they have for these players on and off the floor. You know, they're so proud of who we are as student athletes, how we represent the community, how we show up. And they really, truly are fans. And I'm sure early on there was some confusion. Like I sub a lot more than most head coaches. We play a lot of players, a lot of different lineups and things like that. And they had seen, you know, that core 5 or 6 at Toledo with Soph and Q and those guys for so long. So, but they immediately, you know, outstretched arms, welcomed me and our family and our staff and this new team, this new style of play. And so for that, I'm really fortunate. But it just feels like a huge blessing to be this leader. And my number one goal last year was that those 6 seniors had the best experience that they possibly could. You know, I asked for this job. I wanted this job. I wanted this opportunity. They did not ask for a change in leadership. And so they were kind of a victim of circumstance, and they didn't act that way at all. They united, they embraced us, they let me coach them, they bought in right away. And so it was just a really, really special year.
Yeah, that's great. That's great stuff. So over the past couple of years, women's basketball in general has seen a surge in popularity. And I love that the women's game kind of depends more on agility and skill and all this stuff rather than just size.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great point.
Is that purely resonating with fans, or is there something else going on?
You know, when you talk about the Caitlin Clark effect right now in women's basketball, I think you could run into Caitlin in the grocery store in Iowa, and if she was wearing, you know, leggings and a hoodie, you might not know that that's arguably one of the 5 best players in the history of WNBA women or women's basketball at large.
Mhm.
You know, these NBA guys are unicorns. They're 6'10", 250 pounds, 275 pounds. And so I think the purity of the skill in the sport and the relatability of like, oh my gosh, that could be my niece, or that could be, my daughter one day, I think makes the game really, really fun. And then I think the W in college athletics, here at University of Toledo, we certainly try to be approachable and we try to be engaged in the community. The W is known for being women really involved in activism. And so I think a lot of the things that we stand for beyond just bouncing a basketball, allow the community and the supporters to know us and want to support us as people and players.
Yeah, good point. So here on any given Monday, we like to peek behind the curtain a little bit. So what can a great athletics department do to support a women's athletics basketball program? And how can your team advance the University of Toledo's broader mission?
Yeah, well, I think the University of Toledo does it. There's a seat at the table for me to advocate for my program, to be heard. There's a willingness from our leadership to listen to what actually affects and impacts women's basketball, our student athletes, the experience here at UT. And so I think in order to really, really grow the game the way that we all want to, you have to have committed leadership from our president to our board to our athletics director. And then honestly, it's lateral too. The support that I get from Coach Todd, Coach Candle, the other leaders on our campus that are sitting in similar seats, I think is really important. We try to empower and uplift one another, which is fantastic. But I think the best thing we can do is continue to be great stewards of the community and represent the brand. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, and I tell our players this jersey comes with a weight in a good way. The
Mhm.
responsibility to uphold this jersey and the legacy and the people that came before us and the championships and the team GPAs and all of those things. It's a responsibility that we have. But in order to grow the brand, I think we continue to be who we are and we continue to win at a high level. And we talk about national prominence. Brian Blair is working toward that with me for our women's basketball program. And I'm really, really excited to be held in that regard. I think that's an expectation that is absolutely achievable. We should be in a at least a contention for a championship year in and year out, be able to compete in the top four, top two of our league. And so if we just keep being us, I think organically, because of who I am and how I compete and the support that we have around us, we'll be able to continue to rise.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Now let's jump over to you yourself as a person a little bit in your journey. So
It's been fun.
you grew up in West Virginia and played at Wingate University in North Carolina. What first ignited your love for basketball, and when did you really know that coaching was the path you wanted to go down?
So when I was 7 years old, almost eight, my mother passed away from cancer, and I moved out to Hamlin, West Virginia with my father and my stepmother. And they had been married for a couple years, and me and my brother ended up going to live with my dad. And it was the summertime when school ended. My mom passed away in May, and so school ends. And then I'm in this little town in the middle of the mountains, and I didn't have any friends. It's summer. How are you going to meet friends at school? And the house that they bought had a basketball hoop. And so all summer long, I would just shoot. I didn't have anything else to do. We didn't have iPhones or anything back then. And so um, I just enjoyed it. And I kind of got obsessed with it in a good way. I wanted to make shots. I was doing all the dribbling things and playing all the games with myself. And it just became something that was an outlet for me that I had a lot of fun doing. And, it turned out I got pretty good at it. Um, I didn't know that I wanted to be a coach until, I think God's plan is just bigger than mine. I got a graduate assistant position. I coached a little AAU team my senior year of college. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing them get it. And I had worked for a trainer that used to be in the NBA, and I had taught some like skill instruction stuff. And so I don't know, maybe just the perfect blend. I get this GA position and I go down, I start coaching. And about 9, 10 months in, one of the assistants left, and the head coach offered me the full-time job. And you know, I joke about it all the time. It was a pay cut from my waitress job. I was making more money waitressing as a GA than I made as a full-time assistant. I was like, "Ooh, where's the cash? This hurts." But I loved it. I've had so much fun. We work hard. We work a lot. But it's not hard work. I'm not digging ditches. I'm not out fighting wars. I mean, this is a really, really fun job, and I feel like I just have the coolest gig in the world, honestly.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. So you've coached in the Ivy League, Big East, Big Ten, and at Monmouth, and now Toledo. Your practices are high energy, and I've seen a lot of videos of practices. I mean, chest bumps, high fives, you name it. How would you describe your coaching style, and who most influenced that?
I I would say the two words that I probably lean into is I'm a connector first. I think you have to connect before you can correct. They've got to know that you see them, that you understand their dreams and where they're trying to go, and that you care about them as more than just a basketball player, which I always have. So that part's been very natural for me, being a connector. And then I love teaching. I love teaching the game. My mom was an elementary art teacher. Yeah, I think just naturally that's something that I enjoy. I like the process of learning, and I have very much a growth mindset. So I also have a lot of energy, and I like to have fun. I'm very, very, very competitive. I make that super clear in the recruiting process. I'm sure we'll discuss that a little bit,
Oh yeah.
but I'm highly competitive. But I also think you can have a really good time while you're working hard, and yeah, I think that's just part of how I was raised, and um, it makes the days a little bit more fun when you're with people that you love and respect, and you're on a same that same mission.
Yeah, you kind of somehow guessed my next question a little bit. And AAU, you kind of talked about it a couple minutes ago, but AAU seemingly is dominating boys basketball. I mean, if you're not playing
Hmm.
AAU, I mean, good luck trying to go anywhere.
Yeah, it's hard to get a look. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So is AAU just as vital on the women's side? And where and how do you find Toledo's future players?
No, I think AAU is really important to the game. I think the exposure of playing against other elite players or from around the country, and the women's game around the world. I think there's a lot of it can be watered down at times. How many XYZ elite teams can, one state have? I'm unsure.
Hmm.
But I think the opportunity to get out and play and compete at a high level is really, really important. We do identify a lot of talent, in the summer, but at Toledo specifically, and at Monmouth, and as a leader, I feel like there's a tremendous value in creating relationships with high school coaches and with the entire family of every prospect. All of their important people we want to know. We want to know, their relationships with them, why they want to come to Toledo. I think some coaches just maybe get caught up, and I might have done this a little bit younger, and just selling, the school and our plan for you and all those things. But I think it's really important to make sure that not only do they like you, but you like them. Like, wait a
Hmm.
minute, let's know you. Let's know how you're going to respond on your worst day. Let's know how your mom and dad are going to respond when you call home and you say, "Hey, come get me. This is hard." Um, all those things that transpire. But definitely identify a lot of talent in the summer and then follow up and follow through. One of the funnest things for me is to see a player and their role and kind of responsibilities with their high school team after having seen them with AAU. Because, AAU is largely a collection of really, really, really good players.
Yeah.
And then they go back to their high school team, and maybe a 3-point specialist is suddenly playing the one. And you're like, oh my gosh, like she's got some skills in the bag that I didn't know she even had. And
Hmm.
so when you follow up and follow through and do the homework, it allows you to really get that whole picture of a
Yeah.
player and a person. And then you can kind of formulate and build a roster around that.
Hmm. So when you recruit players and bring them in, do you adapt them to your system, or do you kind of morph them and work around them and how they play and how they, go about themselves?
I would I don't want to throw myself under the bus, but I will. I would say that's probably the hardest thing about being on our coaching staff. My staff would say, a lot of head coaches. I've even worked for a head coach that was like, "This is a point guard for me. This is a two guard. This is a three. This is a four. This is a five. This is their skills. This is how big they have to be. This is all I need them to do, and we'll win championships." Um, I kind of have the opposite philosophy. So I think our responsibility is to accumulate as much talent that can play together and make each other better as we possibly can. That whole iron sharpens iron philosophy. But we really go get great players that we think can do the things that we need them to do well, but hopefully beyond that. Try to stay away from single skilled players,
Hmm.
like she's just a shooter or just a shot blocker. There's room for specialists, but we like multi skilled players that can score at multi levels. We talk about being a willing and able defender, but there's a lot of freedom within our offense for me to play around with different players with different skills. And you'll see a Toledo team this year that will have small lineups. We'll have really, really big lineups. But it just makes it fun. And the best teams I've been a part of, at Marquette when we were winning championships, at Monmouth when we were winning championships, we could we could go at Marquette, we could go to Villanova and St. John's, who are that really good defensive teams, and win 60-52, and then we could go down to DePaul or go up to Creighton and win, 102, 105,
Hmm.
and being built to compete against different styles of play, I think is really, really important.
Yeah. And so
That was a
now,
long answer.
no, it's
Sorry.
okay.
I could talk about that all day because, you develop your philosophy as you go through 18 years as an assistant. And I'm
Hmm.
watching all these programs that we got to compete against being in the Ivy League as the Ivy League really surged. And all of a sudden, Princeton and Harvard and Columbia got good. Like everybody started getting good. And that was a one bid league for a long time. And last year, a three bid league. Looking at the Big East, when we were in the Big East, we were a four bid league. So really, really good teams and programs. You start to kind of develop your own philosophy about how you want to build a team, a program if you ever get the chance.
Yeah. Yeah. And so this next question, you kind of touched on a little bit about your time at Marquette. But at Marquette, you recruited Natisha Heidemann, who is now with
That
the
was fun.
she's now with the Lynx in the WNBA. So what goes into spotting the next great star, and what is it like to see her succeed?
Well, I got to tell you the fun thing about Natisha, and we won't get sidetracked on this, but I think it's important. In the state of Wisconsin, there are four Division I schools, and she didn't have an offer from the other three when we got hired at Marquette. And so UW Green Bay, UW Milwaukee, and UW Madison had not offered her. And so we were like, these guys have been watching her for years. Like, is she not good enough? Are we missing something? And we just thought she was really good. And
Hmm.
she had like West Virginia and Kansas State. She didn't really want to leave home. And so we we just went after her really, really, really hard. And um, I think it gives me a lot of confidence in trusting our evaluation and knowing what the right player for us is, because maybe she wasn't right for them, but she was right for us. And so I think, especially with social media now, we got to be careful not to get caught up in all of those things, like who has offers and doesn't. And
Hmm.
so that leads me to say, like, spotting the next talent. Yeah, I think there's tremendous value in again getting to know them as people. What's driving you, what's your why, how competitive are you growth mindset, are you process oriented, those things that will allow you to really, really be successful um, in the 4 years at Toledo and then beyond, obviously. But no, I think um, just having watched for a really long time, hopefully we developed a little bit of a knack of seeing upside. We talk a lot about a player's floor. So, like, for example, I was talking to one of our kids today. I said you did three things today, and this is one of our transfers. I said, you did three things today that were better than anything I saw any other post player in our league do last year.
Hmm.
Now, your three worst things today make you unplayable. If you do that, you're not going to be in the game. And she was like, no, I get it. And so we look at that, like, how high is their ceiling? Sure, but like also how low is their floor? And I think we've done a good job of building our roster of kids with really, really high ceilings, but also high floors that don't make a ton of mistakes, understand their strengths and play to them really well.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's say you see another player like Natisha, and you really want to get him. And now take us inside some of those home visits, going to high school gyms and all that endless travel. What is that really like on the recruiting trail?
I personally think it's really fun. Coach Haley and I just took a trip to the hometown of a young lady that's really important to us in this 2027 class. And we asked their family, "What's your favorite restaurant?" So we try to stop in there. I just want to feel what it's like to be from where they're from,
Hmm.
because for me, where I'm from is really, really important to me. And there was no way that I could go play for somebody that didn't understand me and where I was from. So those visits are great. We get to watch open gym or practice or whatever it might be. There's another young lady that's really important to us. We're about to go watch her play in a volleyball game at her high school. So seeing them in multi-sport situations. But it just allows us again to connect on a different level and see them, yeah, with their high school teams in their element, truly.
Hmm.
But those are a lot of fun. I think some coaches think they're daunting. Um, like I've heard coaches be like, "Oh yeah, I got to go do an open gym or do a home visit." I think it's really fun, but again, that's just me.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now let's say that player gets to Toledo and it's practice time. And Toledo's culture is built on grit and toughness.
Mhm.
What does toughness look like day to day in practice? And most fans will, never get to see a practice. Explain to me, coach, how a big time college program plans a practice, what goes on in it, and who maps out the practices.
Yeah, so I take a lot of feedback from our assistant coaches on practice. Occasionally, like this time of year, when things are getting a little bit redundant, we don't have a scrimmage for another 9 practices or so. I'll text the girls and say in our group chat, and I'll say, first 3 to respond, get to pick a drill today, or what do we need to work on? I take feedback from the team. But we plan practices collectively. I have kind of what's called my install plan. And so, our offense, our breakdowns, our baseline out of bounds, sideline out of bounds, press break, zone defense, traps, ball screen. There's just it's a big install of what we have to have in by game one, and what we need to have in by the third game and so on down the line. And so I pull from that. So some of the decisions are made like, oh gosh, we only have 2 baseline out of bounds in, and we have 5 more practices before scrimmage. Okay, I got to get a couple more baseline out of bounds in. So we kind of steal it from there. But I watch a ton of game, like practice film.
Hmm.
And hey, is our screening where it needs to be? Is our cutting as sharp as it needs to be? Like pulling from what we've installed that needs to improve or we need to sharpen. But you have install days, and then you have drill days, and then you have live days, and then you have sharpen days. And
Hmm.
so right now we're in a lot of sharpen, just really making sure that we're setting and using screens, that we're moving when the ball moves on defense, that we're finishing every play without fouling and getting a box out. Um, but it gets competitive.
Yeah.
We also, thanks to a gift of the generous donor, we have the catapults, which is like a load management system. And so we can see their player load every day. And yeah, I work with our athletic trainer and our strength coach to make sure that we're getting our fitness that we need to get without overdoing it, killing our legs and those kinds of things. So it's a lot really that
Yeah.
goes into practice. It's really fun to plan. It can take a long time if I let it. But I've definitely gotten more efficient at that, I can say, as the time has gone on.
Yeah. I really like what you said there about texting the players and first three to respond, just to pick a drill.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, again, this younger generation gets a lot of a bad rap. You guys,
Hmm.
everybody's on you guys right now, and I think it's tragic because you're really. I think you guys are, even though people talk about the devices and things like that. I think you guys are really in tune with what's going on, and maybe even more self-aware than we were
Yeah.
when we were your age. And so, I think it's a good thing to hear your players. I think it's a good thing to check in and be like, "Hey, what do you guys want more reps of?" And they're I was like, oh, geez, wow, you guys just playing practice. All right, we need a little bit more follow ball screen work on defense. We didn't feel like that was connected, and it didn't feel natural. And oh shoot, okay, we're not making our shots out of this touchback action. All right, let's get some shots out of that. So, I mean, it's why not ask the people that know what
Yeah.
they need, and let's do it together. Let's be on the same team here.
So, what role does chemistry and locker room leadership play in sustaining success?
It's the role. That locker room chemistry. It doesn't matter how good the talent is if the talent doesn't have any trust. If we talk about a lot about being the most confident, connected, competitive team, and chemistry is everything. And I've said it, don't come to Toledo to be average. I think we have a really, really good opportunity here to recruit the best and the brightest.
Mhm.
And so fortunately, we have really, really high character kids. And a lot of that chemistry stuff comes from that. Like, people not doing things they're supposed to do off the court or handling their business the way they're supposed to be. So chemistry is everything. And then upholding the culture, it's so great because one of the first days this summer when everybody was in town, I can't even remember what it was, but I remember Ella Weaver like just kind of bopping one of the new guys going, like, we don't do that here. And she was like, the new guy was like, okay, cool. And I don't know what exactly went on, but
Mhm.
that's culture
Yeah.
and that's leadership and that's trust. And so, yeah, it's the big things for sure, like sprinting over to a guy that takes a charge and being the first one to pick him up. But it's in the locker room. It's when we're out at the mall, the way that we, like I said, carry that jersey.
Mhm. Speaking on that culture a little bit, so at Monmouth, as I said in the beginning, you inherited a two-win team and eventually took them to the tournament 2 years later, which is absolutely amazing. What clicked and what did that teach you about building belief?
What clicked? Oh my word. A lot of things. Um, a lot of things fell into place. If anything, it reinforced that culture wins, because we were not the most talented team in the league for sure, and they knew it. They knew we needed each other. They knew we needed to out team the other team. Um, Probably the thing that like the process based, the skills and drills and the player development individually and the team development, all those things really really mattered. But I think the thing that really clicked was I asked them maybe so we won 4 games in 4 days. After the second win, we are going into the semifinals, and I still didn't think that they had completely sold out. And I just asked them, what if you did
Mhm.
for the first time in your life? Like, what if you did? And they did. And we did it for 2 days, 2 more days in a row. And so I think there's a little bit of an illusion of control in this life. Gino talks about it like he thought for a long time that he could control the outcomes of games and control his team. We can put them in the best positions possible, but at the end of the day, like confidence to go make a play and belief in the people beside you. If you mess up, that they got you, I
Mhm.
think is really, really the most important thing. And so when that clicked and they all sold out at the same time, we beat a much more talented team on their home floor by like 30 in the
Wow.
championship. And so I will never forget it. And I will never take for granted the power of team.
Yeah. So, what keeps you excited for coaching and what gets your juices flowing about this next upcoming season?
Well, what I just shared keeps me excited. I think the opportunity to put these young people in a position to reach their dreams, to achieve their goals, to maybe even be a Natisha Heidemann who, even after a junior season, was like, "Wait, you think I could play pro?" And we were like, "Yeah, we think you could play pro, buddy. Start getting ready." Just being alongside them. These parents are trusting us. They're pouring into these young women for 18, 19 years, however long it is, and then they drop them off, and our hope is that we can carry out the example of hard work and integrity and family and all of those things that are my core values that matter to me. And then we get to help them, like I said, figure out who they really are as young women and young adults and navigate this next chapter. But that gets me excited, seeing them reach their potential, achieve their dreams, go on to be not just professional basketball players, but teachers and attorneys and doctors and lawyers and leaders.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think another cool thing about Toledo is, some of these young people have done a little bit of community service in their lives, but we really double down in the community here, and they leave with a love for philanthropy and giving back. And so we get this platform to create these passions for them in their lives that they can carry on and then go share it with people that they love later. And it's just a really beautiful, cool thing. As far as this season, what am I excited for? Um, I don't know yet. 7 new players. And I got
Wow.
4 new staff members. But I can tell you, I'm having a blast right now. We're teaching. We're teaching a lot. We got a lot of talent. We're young. We do some crazy stuff sometimes. I'm like, wait, what was that? Uh, as we're figuring it out. But this is a really, really good group. They are hilarious. Like I laugh a lot around this group. So I'm just excited to compete in the league and to go represent Toledo.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right, now let's talk about something that you can't really not talk about when talking about college sports. It's NIL and the portal.
Right?
It's dominated college football, big talking point. So
Yeah.
how has this affected women's basketball and your roster building? I mean, you just said 7 new players. That's a lot. So
It's a
how's that
lot.
working?
Yeah, no, I think here at Toledo, we're positioned really well. Like I said, Brian Blair and his team are really committed to women's basketball. And I think women's basketball is important at UT and in this city. And so we're going to continue to recruit the best and the brightest. We're going to continue to try to keep the integrity of the college student athlete experience um, at its core here at UT. But we also know it's our responsibility to win championships. And so just navigating that, I think we're positioned well. And now we need to make good decisions with with the offers that we put out and then continue to develop from within.
Yeah. So is there an edge that Toledo has in finding these players that, or anything really in this new era that bigger programs kind of overlook?
Well, I think we're going to be able to recruit more talented high school players. And I could be wrong. In 2 years, I might be like, hey, yo, I was really wrong on that. I think some P4 programs are looking for the next game changer. I think we can get great high school players and develop them in our system because of our culture,
Hmm.
and because of the opportunity to be trained by an elite staff and have an elite experience. You're playing in front of 5,000 fans. There's only 29 other schools in the country where you can get more people in the building every night. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then you couple that with a great education. You couple that with a location and a league that are really competitive. There's a lot of really, really good those things going here, and we're just excited to build on it. But I think our edge is just again UT continue to be who we've always been, that blue collar gold standard.
Hmm.
I think we play a really fun brand of basketball, and I think that's bringing a lot of people to the table for sure.
So let's look forward in the next, let's say, 5 or 10 years. What changes do you foresee in women's basketball, and what changes do you hope to see?
Mhm. I hope we continue to grow. Um, I hope that we continue to dream big. Yeah, I think we've done that. We switched to quarters. We're playing FIBA rules. All those things have advanced and evolved. I think there'll be some changes um, as far as will this transfer pendulum swing back and kind of self correct. I think that it will. Um, I think the W is going to continue to grow. I think there's just endless opportunities out there for us, but specifically at UT, I think we're just getting started. And we've had this incredible fan base for so long. I'm excited to continue to build on it and continue to engage our community and just bring joy to the fans every night.
Hmm. All right. Now let's switch over to a little reflective and personal piece here. If you could give advice to your 25-year-old coaching self, what would you say?
Don't quit. Yeah, there were some days where I was making $30,000 a year for a long time. And my friends were in like pharmaceutical sales, making 6 figures, and I was working really, really hard. And I loved it. And I'm really, really glad that I stuck with it and I didn't let the chatter about making money or all of the other things get in my head. I always had support from my family about, pursuing my passions. The other thing I would probably say is stay in touch. Yeah, it's been crazy. Even the people that I did lose touch with that came back around in my life in some form or fashion, all the way back to Jacksonville, all the way back to Kennesaw State, in 2003, 2004, that I had no idea I would see it again, even honestly. And so that's been really, really cool. But I think I could have done a little bit better job, especially on the recruiting trail of, when I left Atlanta and went to New York, of staying in touch with those guys. And then when I
Hmm.
left New York and went to Jacksonville, I was down at JU for 5 years, staying in touch with those guys. Cause then guess where I went from JU? Columbia, right back in New York. And then I'm recruiting the world.
Hmm.
So just keeping that first 10 years or so, learning that, hey, this is going to come back around in some form or fashion.
Yeah, yeah. So what's something people don't see about coaching or don't realize that's a moment far from the spotlight that defines great teams?
From a coaching standpoint,
From a coaching standpoint, yes.
um, I think it's clear that our players don't want to let us down. Like you see them out there. I don't think people realize how much we don't want to let our players down. How hard we work to make sure they have every opportunity to have success in every area. That's probably the heaviest thing. Yeah, if
Hmm.
you were to ask a parent that, yeah, because I've mentioned that in recruiting before, and I've had parents be like, "Oh my gosh, you just summed up what it feels like to be a parent." Is, of course your kids don't want to let you down. Well, we don't want to let them down.
Yeah.
How do we provide every opportunity? And so that weight times 15 is real.
Hmm. What would define, or sorry, what else does a successful season look like beyond just wins and losses?
I think understanding last year, I was like, I don't know how many games we're going to win, but we're going to build our culture. We're going to establish kind of
Hmm.
our culture and our style of play, our pace of play. And so there are so many wins beyond those 24 that we got last year. You know, seeing Kara Kloss blossom into the player that we all knew was in there, and then naturally when seniors graduate, it opens up this opportunity. Watching those guys lead the younger guys. Sammy McConowitz was the hardest worker in the gym for years, but never had to lead.
Hmm.
Soph and Q kind of handled it, and now she's leading Eva Cole and all of those guys. And so it's just, those are all wins for me. Watching Jess Cook come in and share with me the conversation that she had as a student teacher with one of her students.
Hmm.
It was just really, really absolutely transformational watching them pursue their dreams. And there's just a million wins. I'm probably going to think of like 50 more after we get done, but there's a lot more wins than
Hmm.
else.
Yeah.
And it keeps you humble, and it reminds you that we're all just out here doing our best.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to young people hoping to work in sports, coaching, media, whatever? And also, what advice would you give to parents of young athletes?
The advice I would give to people pursuing a career in sport is be yourself. If I was, Amanda Butler is a great friend of mine, and a very accomplished coach and mentor for me. If I was trying to be Amanda Butler or trying to be Carolyn Keeger, I would have failed miserably, because they're way better at that than I am. And I'm really, really grateful that I was able to be myself and have success. So be yourself, be authentic, be really, really you.
Hmm.
And don't know, we need you at your best. What was the second part?
Advice you would give for parents of young athletes.
Parents. Oh my gosh, love your kid. Love your kid. Tell them how much fun you have watching them play, how much you love to see them compete. Tell them you're proud of them.
Hmm.
There's a lot of coaches out there. I think, uh, yeah, I think unstructured play is a really, really lost thing in this world. All the trainers and stuff like that, that stuff's really important. But like, man, roll the ball out, let them go play 5-on-5, play 3-on-3. Um, let them love the game and have fun playing the game, and it'll serve them a lot longer and a lot more than them not even wanting to get in the car with you after the
Hmm.
buzzer goes off. Like, that's not good.
All right. Universities thrive when athletics and academics pull in the same direction. How do you, as a leader, connect what happens on the court to with what's taught in the classroom that your players graduate as complete student athletes?
Specifically, it's just really important that they get to be themselves, that they get to use their sport as an expression. And then, again, like you said, athletics are the front porch of a university. So if we're having healthy, happy experiences, I think that comes through on the screen. I think that comes through in our play. And I think that reflects the institution.
Mm.
Yeah, it's been so cool to go to the football games and watch the student section grow this year and just watch our young women at the volleyball games celebrating one another, cheering for their sisters in a different sport, going to the soccer game, going to softball games. I think a healthy, happy athletics culture um, is. Brian said it last year too. Like us being on national television 3 times, like
Yeah.
that's people seeing Toledo, talking about Toledo, Quinion Mitchell getting drafted. Those things all advance and promote the brand.
Hmm.
No question.
Yeah. All right. Now I'm gonna finish here with a lightning round. Quick couple questions, quick couple fun questions to end it here. Ready?
Gotcha.
All right. So now this question is gonna be the first ever lightning round question that's not a verbal answer.
Okay, I'm ready.
I want you to give me your say the really bad call just happened on the court. I need your I need your best ref glare, your signature ref glare.
Okay, if you come to our games, you'll realize I'm answering with my mouth. Sorry. I usually close my eyes and take a deep breath. I'm not a ref glarer.
That's okay. I
So
like
it
that.
would probably look like this.
That's good.
And then they look
That's
at me,
good.
take a deep breath, and hopefully they know that stunk.
All right. So let's say you were playing Toledo men's head coach and actually former Any Given Monday guest Ted Kowalczyk in a game of horse in Savage Arena. What's going on? Who's winning? What's the score going to be? You going to hit the knockout shot?
Oh my gosh. Kowalczyk and I go to yoga together. We see each other at yoga all the time. We probably rather throw down the mat than throw a game of horse. Yeah, I don't know a lot about his game, honestly. I do know this. What a tremendous coach. And their gosh, their legacy, their storied success is just unbelievable.
Hmm.
But if it were my perfect world, I'd be I'd be hitting some right wing threes. I'd probably get him with the half court, maybe a little granny behind the head shot. Got to shoot one from behind the backboard, all the way over, try to splash it in with some nice touch. I don't know. He might hit me with some like Dr. J stuff from back in
Yeah.
the day.
He did tell me he dropped like 50 some in high school. So,
He's legit.
yeah.
He's legit. And his kid's legit too.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah,
He's good.
races doing big things.
So let's go back to your college playing career and you can have any NIL deal you want. Who's sponsoring you and why?
College,
College, yep.
like the truth. There's this place back in West Virginia. It's called Tudor's Biscuit World.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh. If they had NIL deals, I would have been eating like a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. And this is Appalachian with a Mountain Dew every day. I do not eat that stuff as much now. Now when I go home, I get one. But yeah, that would have been the dream NIL deal. Or maybe like BP gas or like a gas station because I was always running around tearing up the roads.
Hmm.
Um, I was a big road tripper.
All right. This next one, I need you to shut off your brain real quick and just answer it with whatever you hear
Okay.
first, okay? Toledo basketball is
Passion.
passion, okay? I like that. So now you have unlimited budget. You pick the halftime entertainment at Savage Arena. Who is performing?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Like, are they performing for me or like for our fans?
Well, that was the next part of the question. You're gonna go out and watch them, or you're gonna head back to the locker room?
Well, we got to win the game, so I'm gonna be in the locker room. But I don't know. I think it'd be really cool. I love Rihanna. We were just talking the other day about her halftime
Hmm.
performance. I'm also a big country music fan. So there's a lot of artists out there. I've never got to see Dolly Parton live. I don't know if that's really going to bring the house down, but before Dolly goes, I would love to see Dolly.
All right. Now we got a scouting report question. Say you're watching your old self on film in college.
Mm.
And you got a game plan for yourself. How are you
Mhm.
gonna beat yourself?
Be physical with me. I didn't like it. I needed to be a little bit tougher back in the day. That's probably why it upsets me so much now. I was a little bit of a finesse player. I was dogged on the boards. I would get physical on the boards. But offensively, I was a little bit too pretty at times.
All right. Now let's talk about when they make a movie about you. They're not gonna call it Hoosiers, they'll call it, let's say, Glass City. Who's playing you and who's playing your toughest assistant?
Oh, okay. Julia Roberts is playing me. She's awesome. My
Mhm.
toughest assistant?
Yeah.
Oh, they're all amazing. I can't pick one. Coach Jeff came with me first. I guess I could pick him. Who's playing Jeff Lanier? I'm bad at actors. Who's that guy on Chicago PD? He's like
Oh,
kind of rough. I don't know his name,
I know
but
you're
that would
talking
be
about,
the
but
guy.
yeah,
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 that would be the guy playing Coach Lanier. Like really deep down a softy, but kind of has like a rough exterior.
yeah. Yeah. All right. Final question is, what are you doing on any given Monday?
Any given Monday, cooking dinner with Kristen, walking the dogs around the block, probably checking in on my dad at some point, watching film.
Hmm.
Pretty simple, pretty easygoing kid. Um, just loving this life I've been blessed with.
Yeah, well, thank you. That's all I got for you today.
Thank you so much. This was fantastic.